Welcome back, dear friends. It's been far too long since my last missive from the workshop, Tales of the Workshop. It's got to be about 3 weeks or something now. If you watched the last video, I was starting to get that clock that I'd made, the chronograph clock that had never worked properly, the first one, actually getting it fixed and repaired. And I'd got the electronics done and the programming, and then I was about to start everything else when Christmas happened. And needless to say, just as with the summer, if you're following videos for a while, I went away for 2 weeks in the summer to the beautiful Isle of Wight and came back with a virus caught off one of my children's friends and was in bed for 2 weeks. Isn't that nice? The sun was shining, I had lots of exciting work to do on the ukulele machine. I was absolutely exhausted for 2 weeks. You can see where this is going, can't you? The day before my wife was due to break up, she came home in an absolutely terrible state with sort of flu-y type thing. Went to bed and stayed there, and I was really pleased because I was fit as a fiddle. And I was looking after everyone and making all the food and everything. And I was sleeping in my son's room because my son was sleeping downstairs in the lounge with the dog like he likes to do during the holidays, thinking, I'm going to avoid this germ. But I didn't. A week later it got me. So both of us have spent 2 weeks in bed, absolutely exhausted. Halfway through, however, with the aid of the wonderful port and lemon, hot port and lemon, oh, gorgeous. Forget Flu Plus and all that, doesn't touch the sides. We managed to have friends and family round for a lovely Christmas meal in here, as it happens. And this is the first time, because after having done that, and that went really well, port and lemon, brilliant. After having done that, we both, the rest of the holiday just collapsed. But this is going to be a very exciting year because, as I mentioned before, we are booked in to appear at Whitby Steampunk event on, well, February this year. So it's all coming together. So I've got quite a lot to do in preparation for that. And during the meanwhilest, I've been making some more of the gauges, the decorative gauges up, because I realised I was running low again. Let me show you, because I've come across another very good idea I'm pleased about. Having made several thousand of them, it's taken me that long to come up with this idea. The way I make the gauges is I've got a black background and I engrave some little rings around it to try and stop the glue seeping out. And I cut and engrave a front piece. This is for the smaller version. Then I glue them together very carefully, the back being slightly wider so it looks intentional, which it is. Glue them together, and then what I've been doing, once they've all dried, I have to spray them up, obviously. So what I've been doing, which I have to say drives me to distraction, is I've been resting one of these in each gauge before I spray them, thinking that, you know, you don't want to glue the glass lens and the print and things onto a sprayed surface because paint's not that tough and I don't want to risk them falling out. So I like to leave a little disc that I can then spray up and then remove all these. It does my head in. Then I remembered that the plastic I cut these out of comes with a protective film on the front that you peel off before you use it. Brain whirring very slowly, why not leave that on and then peel all of the remaining film off that I don't want and then engrave and cut all the things. That's what I did. And here's the first batch that's been sitting here dutifully for about a week and a half. Look, this is fantastic because it means I can spray all these up and then when I come to want to glue one together, I peel off this. What a joy! This has worked very nicely. Look, once they're sprayed, just pick them off with a pair of tweezers and it leaves a lovely clear bit for the glue to adhere to. Quality control, you say? Oh yes, out of those 50 or whatever I'd made, I still found some with little specks on them. I just cannot let them go, so I had to separate them and then sand them down with 1000 grit, wet and dry, and then repaint them. I have to say, it is an absolute joy to be getting my mojo back. I still had to have a nap, sort of 11, half 11 this morning, because I just get so tired. Take the dog out, do some work. Still having to have a little rest each day with this hideous virus. But I'm driving myself forward because I've got to prove that I am actually going to recover from this. And it is lovely now starting or carrying on with this, the Chronilogical Numerator. I'm really enjoying it. I've unscrewed all the screws that hold the front on. There we are, collection of them. Now everything can slide off, which is great. I'll do it two-handed, then I can get to the back of everything and also clean everything up. I've been using cotton buds with some water just to get in all the little nooks and crannies and to get it all nice and clean and all the dust off it. So that's a good start, but this will be lovely because look, it was proper wax varnish polish, so it's got scratched and things, so I need to be able to clean the whole lot and to get all that repolished as well. In the end, I decided to unsolder all these wires that come out here. It just makes it so much easier to basically, because I've got to get all this inside out. You can see why I love making them out of these clock faces. They're from IKEA, who've sadly stopped selling them now. They're just like 3 springs that hold this plastic thing in place, and then you can get the glass and the base and everything out. Wonderful things. And this is nice now. I've got this apart because it means I can spray up bits and pieces that need spraying up and get to other things and get it all cleaned up and apart. That's what I'm talking about. I've got the front off. It's amazing how many bits go into this clock. And I remember being so pleased to have worked out how to actually illuminate the dial with 6 of those little surface mount LEDs mounted on a piece of 2mm white acrylic, which sits behind 2 of these lenses, and there's the 2 flickering LEDs behind them for AM and PM. So now I've got to this stage, I can cut out the new design of that, the new simplified one, and make a new one up. Brilliant! I managed to break the glue around, trim off the few little black bits left over there, and I can use them on the new one. Look at that. Look at that shine. It's beautified, tells you. It's come up a treat. I'm so pleased. It's this stuff, Colron beeswax. It's what I supply with all the kits because it really is lovely to put on, and the more layers you build up, you just get this beautiful, deep, lusterful, if that's a word, shine. And the lenses have glued on perfectly, and I've cleaned all that up with isopropyl alcohol, so that can now be fixed back in there. And handily, although hopefully I won't need it, you can get to the adjustment screw for the hour pointer through the eel before you glue in the gem. I'll get that screwed on and then possibly have to connect it up and make sure that the pointer and the servo and all this. Anyway, we'll see how it goes, but that looks nice. Here's a top tip. If you've got a load of complicated things to paint and you don't want to paint most of it, put it in a carrier bag. Tape it up, and then you just have to tape up the little intricate bits nearer the pot. I've just put a couple more coats on there, and I cut out another little blanking piece to push in over the top of the PIR sensor so it didn't get painted, hopefully. And there's the rest of the pots, having had it comes to 8 coats because I spray each side 90 degrees, another coat, another coat, another coat, and then leave it for a while and then paint it a second lot. So it's 8 coats, and it really does come up beautifully. It does look nice, doesn't it? Right, I have got the function arm screwed in, and I have switched it on without all the other bits connected to it to check that I have got this in the right position, because the problem with this clock, or any of these ones that use this clock housing, is once you've got it all in there with the glass front on, you can't get to it again. To get to it, you have to do what I've done, which is unscrew everything just to get into this bit. And the other thing is dust and little bits of cack on the dial. You hoover it, you vacuum, suck out, blow out, dust out every little bit of detritus, and then put the glass in and put it all together. And then you find there's a little speck, and it's never hidden, it's always somewhere really obvious. It is incredible. So I'm not looking forward to doing that. Everything's dry now, so I can get everything back together and just hope that nothing gets stuck in there and that these continue pointing in the right place. So far, so good. I've managed to get this screwed back down in the right place without scratching any of the paint. And I can't see any little bits of dust or stuff in there, so fingers crossed. Now I've just taken off that little mask that I cut, that I covered this with, and that's lovely. That's come out of treats. This is all nice fresh brass, and it hasn't had to affect the middle. I'm going to put the new sign on here, the simplified one. There's the old one. All these different things, so complicated. And there's the new one. So much simpler, makes sense. And I'll get the wires fed through the O and get it all screwed down again. It is so long since I started this video, it must be about a month or something ridiculous. I seem to remember mentioning these lovely white plastic junction boxes that you can get, and talking about the motor. Well, there's the motor that just sits inside it, connected to a little dinger. There it is, the dinger. Because if you want to ring a bell, it took me ages to work out that you drive the hammer back and let gravity swing it against the bell and come back again. If you drive it at the bell, the bell can't vibrate. So, top tip for you, and there's a little anti-flyback diode, back EMF diode to stop it damaging the circuit, and the back of the PIR sensor. So they're lovely, these things, absolutely fantastic, and you can get them with bits poking out all over the place. One last thing before I stop talking about this. They don't come with threaded bits. They just basically have, they're to push in, I think it's 20 or 25mm plastic trunking. But if you get yourself one of these lovely big taps, and I'm not sure, I think it's 1/2 inch, but there's lots of numbers and nothing stands out. I think it's a 1/2 inch one. Focus. For plumbing fittings, particularly BSP, I don't know what it is. Anyway, they're perfect. They go into this 20mm the ends, and you can just cut a thread which will then fit all your standard 1/2 inch plumbing fittings. There you think, cool. Dog walked, and I'm just about to connect this up and tweak it a little bit. And what should happen? Duh. The string broke on the light switch in the bathroom when I was switching it off after my daughter, who every time she goes into the bathroom she switches the light on, but hasn't actually learnt that you can switch it off again. They're all into all the eco stuff, but not when it comes to bathroom lights. And I was taking it off because just show you how badly things are made. I think this is about 30 years old. I put it up once when I rewired the house 30 years ago. So it's lasted pretty well. Last year I took it down to clean it all up and grease it because it was sticking, and now this time it's just given up the ghost again. Ridiculous. Why do they make things better? Like these. These are beautiful, these knife switches. They've got a fantastic mechanism inside. Don't think you can see it, but there's a blade, a knife, sort of a U-shaped bit that flicks across on a really powerful spring. And this came with the house. This was installed 1933, and it's still working perfectly, and I've just kept them round the house because they're all in perfect condition and working beautifully. Amazing things. But obviously you're not allowed to have one of those in the bathroom because of the risk of electrocution. You need the string. Luckily I've got a new one. I was looking forward to repairing this again, but then the plastic snapped as I was unscrewing the wires. I think I've got a replacement. Hopefully it's the same size. Oh, they just don't make things like they used to. They are quite interesting though, so I thought I'd open it up and show you how it works. Like a biro, in effect. There's a big spring, and then there's the biro effect. Let me see that. Every time this pushes in and out, there's little ratchets that click it and move it around one, and then there's these terminals, connectors that connect with something or other, and a big spring up the middle to keep it returning. Yeah, biro mechanisms are fascinating. I won't launch into a tirade about them, but there are several different ways biros work, and this is the classic way with these little prongs that lift up and slot down like a ratchet type thing. Anywho, I'll get the new one put up, and then hopefully be able to get on with the clock. Actually, funnily enough, these switches are what actually made me buy this house. Very pleased I did, because I remember the estate agent showing me around. I opened the lounge door and I immediately saw two of these sitting on a lovely little wooden panel and thought, oh, that's gorgeous. And with the panelled ceilings as well, I just thought, this is lovely. Thankfully, no one had done very much to it since it was built in 1933. So, yeah, that's what sold me on the idea of getting this particular house. Right, light switch repaired. USB plug-in adapter applied, plugged in. Let's plug it in and see what it does. Hopefully it won't suddenly fly over and start ramming itself in the wrong places. Hang on a minute, I haven't connected anything up yet. I've forgotten about that. Mind you, it might still start up. No, of course it won't. Stupid. All the wires are still unsoldered on the back. Like so. Thank goodness I wrapped them all together so I didn't have the plus and 0.5 volts floating around in the wrong places. I'll get them resoldered and attached. Luckily, I had written down where all the wires go. That's handy, Harry. Everything's now soldered on. There's the doodah. Let's plug the doodah in and see what happens. Well, that flicked round a little bit because it's not just before it started receiving proper signals from the Arduino Micro. That's now hopefully going to go back to the limit switch. Yes, that's good. It hasn't driven itself into here. And then that's set it. Oh, that's nice. That set itself. Oh, and now it's going to hopefully tell the time. I don't know what the time is. I think it is about 5 o'clock. Oh, I'm very pleased with that. Let's try the function switch, which I haven't actually put the puller on yet. Let's do that. Yeah, that's good. Adjust time. And, well, let's just turn that and see what happens. That's good. Oh, back again. Yeah, one little click. Lovely, the encoder's working. Let's change this to strike set. I need to adjust that a little bit so it doesn't go quite so far. And then if I move that, yep, so that's passing strike. No strike. Counted strike. Turn it the other way. Yes! How lovely. It doesn't mean it's actually going to strike at the right time, but it indicates it does. And then back to display time. I've got the computer connected, the laptop, and I'm just fiddling around with the little array of the positions for the servo motor. And I've fiddled with them a little bit. And now, let's see what it does. So, it does point to adjust time perfectly. Then strike set. And then back to the middle. That's really good. Now I've got to sort out where this comes back to and starts at 0. And also I've noticed, and I said this would happen, didn't I? It's just typical. I don't know whether you can see it, probably not. There's a little fleck of some bit of white dust on the end of the hour hand. It's so close, yet so far. But you know me, so I've got to unsolder all the wires and unscrew all this and take it off and to open up everything just to pick off that. Oh, sod's law, isn't it? So frustrating. We're getting there slowly though. And I've hopefully removed that little bit of fluff with some blue tack. Now to get everything back together again. Here's the function that finds the hour pointer switch and then goes back 22.5 now degrees rather than 20.5 as it was. Let's give it a go. I'll upload it so it restarts and hopefully this will actually point to 0 when it pauses. There we go. Yes, that's it. It's very handy having it pointing to that when you first start it up, just as a way of seeing what's going on. Then it points to the time. And this is the thing that's caught me out several times. You just upload it once, the sketch, with that in, and it uploads the time and date and everything else from the computer, but you have to comment it out afterwards, otherwise every time the sketch starts up it tries to find it. Let's do that now. So the computer says 6:13. Let's see what this says. Yes, that's what we want. Well, the clock has been on and I've been out. Let's see what happens. Oh, it had faded down. Yes, excellent. So we now know everything is working. I'm so pleased. The PR sensor is sensing and controlling the lights, and it's not telling the time when it doesn't need to. It only tells the time when you come along, because it saves wear and tear. And also it's nice when you first come into the room that you see it actually do stuff. So that's great. Time to take the dog out, so I'll unplug it just to check that the real-time clock part does actually work. So I should, when I come back home, be able to plug it back in and it'll move to the correct time. Dog walked, or rather cycled. Well, I ride the bike and she chases. She absolutely loves it because she can just run as fast as she can. Beautiful to watch, lovely. So 4 times around the park, and it's time to plug it back in and see if the real-time clock has remembered the time. Faded up. Oh, it's because I switched it on, of course. It's gone back to find 0. Now, for some strange reason, it seems to wait a while before actually telling the new time. Never been able to figure that out, but that is the correct time. I'm thrilled to bits. Well, my next job is to photograph it nicely so that I can try and sell it. So that's nice. I'll put the black screen down, and all my new photographic lights my wife got me for Christmas I can use, and do that. And then also, while I've got all that set up, I thought I'd also photograph the wedding invites, which I haven't yet put on Etsy, but I'm working on it.